Chaos Walking was filmed in 2017 and is finally being released in 2021. Chaos Walking stars Daisy Ridley, Tom Holland, Mads Mikkelsen, David Oyelowo, Cynthia Erivo, Demian Bichir, Kurt Sutter. It is an adaptation of the first book in the YA novel trilogy Chaos Walking. In the not-too-distant future, Todd Hewitt discovers Viola, a mysterious girl who crash lands on his planet, where all the women have disappeared and the men are afflicted by the noise, a force that puts all their thoughts on display. In this dangerous landscape, Viola's life is threatened, and as Todd vows to protect her, he will have to discover his own inner power and unlock the planet's dark secrets. So before we get started with the review, I just want you guys to hit that subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts on Chaos Walking. I'll probably say this at the end of the video as well. If you subscribe, you can definitely count on seeing more reviews, trailer reactions, Blu-ray hauls, every month. Really love doing this for you guys. Let's talk about Chaos Walking. Chaos Walking, I think, is a competently directed film. Doug Liman is the director for this movie, and behind the camera, I don't think he's had work that's matched up to The Bourne Identity yet. But he does a fairly competent job here, moving his characters in and out of frame, getting the best out of all of his actors, trying to stage as much conflict in the story as he can. The acting is fairly competent here too. Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, Mads Mikkelsen, Cynthia Erivo, Demian Bichir, David Oyelowo, they're all good in their respective roles. They're trying their hardest. They're trying to give this movie some life, so I gotta commend them for that. There's also quite a few scenes of action that I thought were really exciting and exhilarating, despite there not being a lot around, just a lot of forest scenery, but I like the idea of this being more of an enclosed, isolated type of YA novel adaptation with those action sequences. It made for some unique action sequences, I'll say that, and I think that they were competently filmed. They were entertaining to watch. At times, I was having a blast with this movie, especially with some of the concepts that are introduced. For instance, the noise is a concept that is introduced in which you can see and hear the thoughts of all men on this planet, the New World. That was really interesting. It is easy to lose interest in this movie, honestly, despite some interesting concepts like that. This can be viewed by a lot of people as just Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley walking through a forest, not really doing much. That's what I'm gonna say about it. Not to mention, despite them giving competent performances and probably carrying this movie, their chemistry is non-existent. I didn't feel a single ounce of, oh hey, maybe there's gonna be a romantic link here. They didn't have it. They didn't feel linked together in a way at all. So I think that there was a slight miscalculation on the casting there. However, like I said, they do give competent performances. I just didn't feel it chemistry-wise between the two of them. Nor did I feel emotionally invested in these characters. The only reason I cared was because I really liked the cast that was involved. I can't reiterate this enough. The cast carries this movie. Every character in this movie is just so thinly developed. There's so much poor characterization that the only reason I care is because it's Tom Holland, or it's Daisy Ridley, or it's Mads Mikkelsen. I could have given two shits about what they had to do. There was no emotional investment, no emotional urgency or attachment to anything or anyone in this movie. I think I started mentioning those interesting concepts before, and then I just went off on another tirade of things I didn't like. But despite some of those interesting concepts, like the fact that people can actually see other people's thoughts and they can hear those thoughts is a good idea. It's just how it's conveyed on screen did not work for me. Because every time you hear people think, mostly Tom Holland's character Todd, every time you hear Todd think, you get like a Tom Holland voiceover. It's not just one thought though, it's like multiple thoughts meshed together. So it's really hard to figure out what that character is feeling inside at that exact moment, because there's 2 or 3 thoughts that he's having that are trying to express what he's feeling at the very same time. That's another huge reason why I had no emotional attachment to this character, but also at the same time, I feel like it also doesn't work because you should be able to figure out as a viewer what these characters are thinking. And now the movie's just kind of blurting out exactly what they're thinking, and it's a detriment to the character development. I don't know how that worked in the book, if that was the same way, but if that's in the book, the translation from the book to the screen did not go smoothly in that regard. There were also some distracting sequences, and I think that's because it had to do with the reshoots for the movie. There's instances where I can see that Tom Holland aged considerably, especially towards the end. And the ending sequence, they definitely had to get a different wig for Daisy Ridley. I mean, the blonde wig was already a hot mess, but this blonde wig that they put on her in the final sequence is even more of a hot mess. It's like, you can tell that this was just a troubled production. There was rumors that this had a poor test screening, so that's why they went back to do reshoots. This thing started filming in 2017, and it's just getting released now. I'll say this, I mean, it at least saw the light at the end of the tunnel, but considering that both Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley have aged considerably since, and that their schedules were jam-packed, and they had to wait until their schedules were clear because Tom Holland was doing Spider-Man, Daisy Ridley was doing Star Wars at the time. They had to wait to do reshoots to make sure that they could come back, and you can just see the age difference from certain scenes earlier in the movie to scenes at the end, especially with Tom Holland. The look of Daisy Ridley's character, and you can even tell that she aged up a little bit too. I noticed that in The Rise of Skywalker, that she aged a little bit from The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker. You could see it a little bit in this movie, and it was a little distracting. It just seems like this was definitely supposed to come out in like 2018, at the tail end of when Hollywood was still adapting YA novels. We haven't really gotten any YA novel adaptations within the past few years because I feel like Hollywood has just realized that maybe people don't want to see these anymore. I mean, they didn't even finish the Divergent series. Maze Runner, I think, was the most consistent one out of the most recent ones. The Hunger Games, I mean, the first two were good, and then both Mockingjay parts just kind of fell off the map for me. Oh, it's almost like you're taking a gamble here, trying to revitalize a genre that a lot of people don't have that much interest in anymore, and honestly, a genre that seemed like it was buried and dead in a grave. This is a huge risk. I mean, because there's things in here that set up a potential sequel, and I'm not sure if we're going to get a sequel. I feel like this is going to be Lionsgate's attempt to try and redo and at least complete a trilogy because they couldn't do it with Divergent. I really don't know. I feel like they're taking a huge gamble trying to adapt another YA novel adaptation where within the past decade, we as audience members were just burnt out with every studio just throwing these YA adaptations at us. And it seems like now where there's not really any that are being made, they're like bringing this back from the dead to try and prove to us that they could still be made. That's just how I see it. I think it's a fine movie. It's decent enough. It's watchable. It's got some interesting concepts. It's competently directed. The actors are doing the best they can with the material they're given. The action scenes are fun and there is some entertainment to be had, but the rest of the movie's just not really up to par for me. And I'm gonna say you will enjoy Chaos Walking with half a bucket of popcorn. So guys, what did you think of Chaos Walking? I want some feedback. Drop me a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.